Welcome to Salaam Nerds Podcast. We do reviews and recaps of nerd culture, reality TV, and current events from this week.
Yo, it's the Salaam Nerds. My name is Dean, aka Watch the Dean. I'm here with my boy Chad.
We drop live episodes on YouTube on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. All episodes can also be found everywhere podcasts are found. Thank you to all our supporters. Please help us by subscribing and leaving a good review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yo, Salaam Nerds. It's your boy Neeps, aka Watch with Neeps, and I am here with a special guest today, and it is Juhi. Welcome to the show, Juhi. Welcome back, actually, I should say.
Hi, thank you for having me.
That's awesome. Well, we couldn't do a Love is Blind show without having you on it, our official, unofficial Love is Blind expert. How did you like this season?
Okay, I actually really like this season because so many things are on this season that haven't been on previous seasons. So, like, as someone who's been in the show, I'm able to tell, like, oh, they did this differently or that differently. So I'm seeing the progress they've been making since my season, which was 2, and now I think they're on season 7.
Yeah, season 7. You were on season 2?
Yeah.
Damn, you're one of the OGs.
Yeah, it was brand new. It was their second time around. Now they're like seasoned. They've been doing it for a while, so I can't believe it's been that long.
That's insane. I feel like it was just yesterday that you were on the show. That was crazy.
Yeah, someone asked me, like, when was this? It's been 4 years.
4 years. That's crazy.
It's almost been 4 years, yeah.
And the thing is, like, they do like multiple seasons a year because they'll like do some of them like simultaneously. They don't just wait for one to end and then start up again like The Bachelor. They'll just like have them being done in like a row.
Yeah, and they've been cranking them out. They've been doing, I think, 3 seasons a year.
Yeah, I remember because when Zainab had all her stuff going on, people kept saying that she's having her Dipti moment, and she claimed that, hey, that season was like still finishing up pre-production by the time she was there, so she had no idea. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy.
They shot her season right after our season ended shooting. They started shooting their season, so she would never have known. That's
crazy. Yeah, no, that's super cool, man. I, as a viewer, I thought this season was a little hot mess. A hot mess, which they all are, to be fair. But it's just so interesting to me because like these guys come in from the pods and they're just like these stand-up guys, and the girls were like grilling them at the beach, and they're like, oh my god, everyone is so wholesome, all these guys are the best guys, and then like literally everyone turned out to be like the worst guys.
Yeah, but that's also like every season. I feel like we get told like, oh, they're a great group of people, and then you find out everything starts to unravel afterwards.
Yeah, the things just
and
unravel.
This season was no different.
Who do you think came out looking the worst at this reunion, and who do you think came out looking the best?
I don't know. That's a hard one because they left out so much. I feel like the reunion episodes never really tell us all the questions we want to have answered. Like, we didn't get much from Steven.
No.
Like, I feel like he was
that was
off
weird.
the hook.
Dude, his answers were unhinged. It was almost like he's like, when he was pressed on it, he's like, you guys aren't gonna believe me, so why should I even like? He just like completely shut down. He's like, no one's gonna believe anything I say. I'm not saying anything at all. I don't care. It was so cold, like so very like sociopath behavior. It was just like no empathy, no nothing. He just like shut down. He's like, I'm not gonna win, so I'm not gonna play.
And I think he tried to. He looked good. Like his fit was looking good. It was stylish and everything, but then he gave us nothing. No. He just was like, this is it. I'm accepting this, and it is what it is. And we heard nothing. We heard nothing. And I think the host didn't ask anything either.
No, I think he had a playbook where he was going to be like, hey, I wrote this letter to her family. I did that. And then she shut that down right in the beginning. She's like, did you do that so you can bring it up at the thing? And I was like, oh, she got his number.
It sounded rehearsed. He was like, this is exactly what I'm going to say, and I'm not going to budge from the script.
Yeah. He did mention that like him and the other person never met in person, but it was just like an online relationship, which is like weird in itself. Like you're not even famous at this point, and you're like having weird parasocial online relationships with people you don't know on the internet.
But he also made a comment a few episodes ago, I think when they were on the beach, he was like, "Oh, you know, when this comes out, we're all gonna get famous. Girls are gonna be
Yeah.
sliding into our DMs, da, da, da." So it's like he already had this notion of like, I'm gonna get famous and I'm going to get attention from women from this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't, it doesn't sound like he was genuine at all.
No, and
Like
then
poor Monica.
he also had like the check off thing that every guy has to say, like, I'm
Hmm.
taking accountability, I'm going to therapy, but like
Yeah.
that's not a, oh well, now that you're doing therapy you're off the hook, we can't say anything bad
Yeah.
about you, right? It's kind of weird how that happened. But I thought he should have gotten more. He definitely should have
Yeah.
got playing more. We didn't get enough,
Yeah.
and I feel like the person who got the worst of it, I don't think they necessarily deserved it, and that was poor Nick. I think
Nick.
Nick got
Hmm.
bullied throughout the entire show and abused throughout the entire show, and then Hannah is like, "You know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen. I'm changed. I'm different now." And then she proceeds to bully him
Hmm.
throughout the entire reunion.
Yeah. And I think like again, we're only shown 90 minutes and they film 5, 6 hours and then
Yeah,
they
yeah,
condense it to the 90 minutes we're shown.
yeah,
But it seems like so much was cut out. Like we didn't get much from Monica, we didn't get much from Ramses, we
yeah,
didn't really hear much from anything besides Nick and Hannah. I feel like they took up most of the
yeah.
reunion.
Yeah, they definitely did. And I think something that I think Hannah came out the worst from this show, because based on the online TikToks, and I don't know if it's just
Mhm.
my algorithm, but the internet is not having it. The internet does not like Hannah
No.
based on what happened on the show. And you would think that
Yeah.
she's trying to be like lean into this, like, oh, I'm direct, yeah, I'm a bitch, and like leaning into it, and it's not working. People
No.
are not happy about it. In fact, people are on a campaign to make Nick the most famous person ever on Love is Blind, just to spite her.
Yeah, but there's like there has to be some truth. There has to be some truth to like what she's saying about the list she found. Like I don't buy his excuses either of the list he made. Like
I don't think there's
I
anything
feel like
wrong with going on a show, and maybe that's not your main reason for going, but like the exception, not the exception, but the expectation that there's a possibility that you can be famous from this show. I
I
don't think there's anything
agree.
wrong with that.
I think that when he made that list, he probably was like, I want to go on to become famous, and then he happened to just also find a good connection, so it worked out for him. But
But like, but she took a picture of it and sent it to
yeah,
all her friends, and
yeah.
then plastered it on the internet, a journal.
Yeah, but like if I was in her shoes, if I saw that list, I probably would be like, okay, what were his actual intentions?
Yeah,
Even though she's still in the wrong for
yeah,
bullying
yeah.
him throughout the whole season.
But
And
isn't this like the pot calling the kettle black? Because now she's going on a bunch of podcasts,
yeah,
doing ads. She quit her job to go on the show, which is like she was also
yeah.
expecting to get famous on
Oh
the
yeah.
show.
I
You
think
quit
she's
your job.
100% in the wrong. Like I don't think I think at some point Marissa said she's like you guys are both wrong
Yeah, yeah,
in their
yeah.
own ways.
Also,
But I think she's more wrong.
I did find it weird how hard Marissa was going, backing up her girl
Yeah.
Hannah for
Yeah.
Nick, but she didn't have that same energy for Ramses. Like,
She
what happened
didn't.
there?
I'm
There was
like, what did we
nothing.
miss? Because maybe it happened and we weren't shown it, but it
Yeah,
didn't seem like there was much of a conversation between the two of them.
no, there really
Yeah.
wasn't. And then she also was just like bragging about her glow up, and I was like, I mean, look, she lost weight, but like, is that really a glow up? Is weight loss all it takes to be called a glow up? I feel like that's kind of,
I think I mean as for women, like yeah, she probably went through a lot to get to that point where she feels like, okay, I can say this about myself now. She feels good and it's awesome to see that. I
hmm,
still don't think n none of it matters because she
yeah,
still treated Nick like crap. Like
yeah,
she was still
absolutely,
mean to him, and at no point did he give her the same energy back. Like he could have been like,
yeah,
I was just being direct. I didn't call you a grenade. I was just being direct.
yeah. Well,
He could have given it back to her, but he didn't.
yeah, yeah. It was really interesting, and I get like Nick maybe like not being super into her when they first met, but it was kind of like what Garrett. I don't know. Garrett went on a bunch of podcasts, and he said that
Mhm.
that may have been how he felt originally, but once he was like on the show, he really did buy into the process and was like really into her. I don't know how much of that I buy, but I thought that was interesting for Garrett to have his back like that.
It is interesting, but it also seems like the guys all had each other's back this season, and the women all had each other's back this season.
I don't know. They kind of did throw Nick under the bus with the whole did you call her a grenade thing? I think
They
Steven
did.
and Ramses were like, "Hey, this is the time to
They
take
did
accountability."
after they were like, I forgot who it was it, but somebody was like, say something. Like they were giving each other eyes, like to say something, say something. And
Yeah,
finally they
Marissa
said
said it.
something. But I'm like, what is something's going on.
There's
'Cause
something we don't know. There's definitely some group
yeah,
text
oh,
information that we
100%.
don't
That
have
we don't
access
see.
to.
I want to be in that group chat. I want to know what
I
those group
wanna.
chats are saying. Because
Yeah,
I'm like, we will know more from that. But
yeah.
yeah, definitely like I'm like something's missing for sure. It was like they were giving each other eyes the whole time.
They really were. The only thing is, I
Mhm.
feel like Hannah could have done a better job at her apology because she would say like, "I'm
Yeah.
direct. I'm sorry I did this," but it's always like with a but. I'm sorry I did this,
Uh-huh.
but you were this. I'm sorry I was cruel, but you were this. I'm sorry
Yeah.
I did all these things to him, but why did he let me? Which is also like bizarre to say like, why would someone let you do that?
Hmm.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like, maybe Nick wasn't into her. I don't know what the timeline is. Did she find that out before she was being cruel to him, or did she find that out after she was being cruel to him? Because it sounds like it got back to her and not
Yeah.
like something like it happened
It
before.
Yeah, it sounds like it got back to her, and I just think she was just being mean to him the whole time to
Yeah.
push his buttons to get him to react.
Yeah.
Because he seemed really soft-spoken and just like allowing her to bully him. But I
Mm-hmm.
think she was looking for a reaction. Like when you just like want to press someone's buttons
Yeah.
so you can
Yeah.
get them to react. I feel like she talked down to him a lot, and she didn't feel like he was as manly as he portrayed himself in her eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
I don't
mean,
know if
look,
that was a toxic way of like get him to like angry to her, say something like, kind of like bully her back,
yeah.
but he
Yeah.
didn't do it.
He didn't take the bait, which I would say probably whether he was
Mhm.
attracted to her or not online, he didn't take the bait to make her look bad on TV, which is still
Yeah.
something.
I don't think she's attracted to him. I think she just needs to own that.
Yeah. The couple that I think the only couple that I feel like that got away scot clean was Taylor and Garrett. I feel like they're still
Hmm.
together. They had a glow up. Um, they were the only ones that I feel like nothing bad happened to them. They were
Hmm.
dressed really nice. I think they get off scot free at this thing, but also very boring. But still, happy for them.
I
They made it.
feel, yeah, like they had that moment in the pods where they both shared like the science tattoo, and so to see
Yeah.
them connect on these little things and then actually make it to the end, like it gives us hope that okay, this works.
Yeah. It helps when there's like one group
Hmm.
that like always makes it. What are your thoughts about like bringing in all these old people like Jessica, Bliss and Zach, AD,
Yeah.
Nancy, Marshall? What are your thoughts about that?
I was really surprised because I was looking at comments and I'm surprised to see how many people do not like that.
Do not like it. No.
They don't. And I get not liking it if it takes away airtime from the actual contestants.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that part. I personally like, I want to know what's going on with them and where they're at. But I don't think they need to be like given so much time.
I
Like, it's
don't think we
cute.
needed
Like,
to see
oh,
Jessica's wedding video. That was
yeah.
unnecessary.
Yeah. Like, we could see them and say, hi, hello, how's it going? But we don't need to see so much away
Yeah.
from the other, the show.
Like they showed a wedding video of her that took place 2 years ago with the man she found off the show. Like
Mhm.
that is so irrelevant
Yeah.
to this process.
Yeah.
So
Because I was
I
thinking
didn't
the
really
same thing. I'm like, what? Weren't they married a while ago? Like, why are we seeing this now? Why not like the last reunion or the one before that?
Yeah. And I don't mind them being there for like facial expression.
Hmm.
Like Nancy, Marshall, AD, they were giving great facial game.
Yeah.
It was fun to see their reactions to a lot of things. But like I I don't know. I mean, I don't really care about Zach and Bliss and like I'm happy for them, but like,
Yeah.
it's fine. We
Yeah.
didn't need all of that. But no, I still get that. Um the other person I feel like got off really easy was Tyler and his sperm babies. What are your thoughts about
Yeah.
that?
Like, they never talked about it. Like, they never addressed. I mean, at least they didn't show it to us. That
Yeah.
what happened there. And in the show, they didn't show her how did she find out? Like, how did this all come about? And I don't know
The
if I buy his reason makes some sense, but I still am like, but you went on a show that's about your life, so we want to know about it. So
yeah,
I think he
yeah.
was like, I'm just trying to protect the kids, which I get, but now he
Yeah.
knows regardless.
The thing is, he's like, I just want to protect the kids, but like his baby mama is the one that dropped all of this stuff and all this
Yeah,
information.
yeah,
So if she is very worried about the kids and stuff like that, why would she drop this information in the first place, right? And if he told her about it, he told Ashley about it, then he should have had no problem giving her the heads up too and saying, hey, by the way, this is going to come out on TV. I said
Yeah,
this, but this is what I really meant.
right.
I felt like that would have been the smart thing to do.
We didn't see much conversation between the two of them, and we didn't
No,
see any explanation.
it feels like to a lot of people that Netflix is trying to save their winner. They're trying to minimize the damage for Tyler because they want
Mhm,
this to look like a success.
mhm.
And the 80s, like, I don't want to look foolish, so I'm going to say, oh yes, when the cameras weren't rolling, he told me everything. I knew everything from the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, the story just didn't line up to me in terms of
Mhm.
like sequence, but like whatever. I don't care. He played the I don't know anyone an explanation card because they're
Yeah.
kids and it's my business. And I'm just like, all right, well, we didn't ask you to bring this up.
Yeah. No. It's strange because we didn't see that conversation at all. Then we saw them just having like 10-second talk about it on the
Yeah,
show, and then thing at the
yeah,
reunion.
yeah.
It's great they're married, and that's going well. But like, what now? And I think I saw someone they're having kids or she's pregnant. Like I don't know if that's not, but
I don't think I saw
I
that.
saw
That
it
might be
somewhere.
that'd be crazy. But okay, maybe.
So
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, why aren't they showing nothing? What we want to know? There's so many unanswered questions, and we didn't
yeah,
get
yeah.
any answers at the reunion.
It was a weird thing because we were getting like scolded as an audience, which like we're like,
Mhm.
hey, this is information you presented to us. We didn't
Yeah,
pry for this information. You asked him about it. It was shown on TV, and if it's shown on TV, the audience has the right to kind of wonder what's going
I think
on
we're
there.
just curious. Yeah, we're just curious. We want to know what's going on and what. There's just more to their story that we just want to know.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. It
And
was
instead, we just got to hear about Nick and Hannah
Nick and Hannah, and just goes
the
back and
whole
forth.
time.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about Marissa and Ramses? Because Marissa, like we said, had a lot of energy for Nick, but for Ramses, we didn't get nothing. And his thought was, "Hey, listen, I was really feeling it, but I think her energy was too much for me, and I would be overwhelmed." And Marissa was like the hero of the show. Everyone loved her, but the reunion did
Mhm,
damage to her
mhm,
stock, which I'm like, oh,
mhm,
she should have just kept her mouth shut. She shouldn't have said anything. But people are now like, oh,
mhm.
I kind of get what Ramsey's saying about her, that she is a lot. And I'm just like, damn, I don't want to see that happen to her and get that because she was one of my favorite characters. She was my favorite person on the season, but
Yeah.
she went to bat for Hannah, who she is not even friends
Mhm.
with at the moment. Apparently, she was on a
I heard.
show
Yeah.
recently and saying, "Oh yeah, we're not really good friends anymore." And she did some TikToks with Nick, and so did Monica. And it's really curious. And I'm like, wow, now everyone's trying to do a TikTok with Nick because they want
Mhm.
not to be part of the backlash. Is that what's happening? Because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I feel bad, but that happens, right? Where everybody is on one person's side, and then the show
Yeah,
comes out, and
yeah,
they see what the viewers think, and then they switch stuff. It happened on my season. It happened on other seasons. Like you see, all of a sudden they're not hanging out with that girl anymore. They're not posting with her. They're hanging out with the other person. And so I'm like,
yeah,
is that what we're seeing? And that's sad if that's so, because
yeah.
were they ever friends to begin with?
It does remind me
I
of
don't
like
know.
some of the stuff Shake was saying on your episode because he was blindsided and it felt like people switched it on him, and he was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
We all know this is fake, right? Like he was just crazy
Yeah,
when
that
he
was a
was
hot mess.
that was a hot mess. I do
Yeah.
remember that. So
So I don't
I
know
I
what
wouldn't be
happened with
surprised.
them. Yeah, I
What
wouldn't be
happened?
surprised either. I wouldn't be surprised either, but I was surprised on the reunion.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed to have like Hannah's back. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't know the girls like even liked each other or liked her or they were that close because I saw videos
Yeah.
that they made together. And now we're seeing the other half where they're posting with Nick. And I don't know if it's them being like, no, we like both of them
Yeah.
or
No.
what's going on.
I
But
I think they were going to drop this Nick news on you, and they thought the entire audience was going to turn on Nick, but it made people like Nick even more.
yeah,
That
but I don't
it
think he
was
was
just
unlikable to begin with. I think it seems like at the reunion they tried to make him look really bad because they
yeah.
tried to be like, you said XYZ about Hannah, but I don't um but back to Marissa and Ramses.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Ramses.
didn't hear much about them.
No. The breakup
Uh
was really, really
my
rough.
only thing with that, the breakup was really rough. The breakup probably was one of the most realistic breakups we've seen
Yeah.
on the show.
I
Like
I would
every
agree.
person who has been through it can relate to Marissa and that moment. Like that was real, right? A
Yeah.
lot of us have been there. Um, but I just don't. Ramses, I liked a lot of the things he said, a lot of his like values and stuff made sense. But how do you spend so much time talking
Yeah.
to her in the pods?
Yeah.
Because we have dates where we're talking to someone for like 2 hours in the daytime, 3 hours at nighttime. So he was spending a lot of time with her energy.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused as to how he was so into the energy for so many days, enough to the point where he was like, "Oh, I can deal with this for the rest of my life. I'm going to propose."
Yeah.
I don't know if he was like, I love this so much. It was because he was on the high of like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then real life, he were like, oh, she'd have to live with this all the time. And that's where the disconnect was. But I don't think he really explained it
Yeah. I don't think so either. But
as well as
he
like
also
we needed
talked.
to hear.
I think he also talked a little bit about like how she gets sick a lot, and because of that, they can't be intimate, and that was a thing for him. And I feel like that might have added some things to it. And then there was the whole conversation about birth control, which he tried to clear
Mhm.
up and say, "Hey, listen, it wasn't like I gave her an ultimatum or I wouldn't use this, but it did definitely come off that way." And
Yeah.
I wouldn't be it makes the audience wonder when you
Mhm.
switch up so fast, and these were the conversations leading up to it. Like, you can't have us not think that it didn't affect your decision.
Yeah. And then we don't know how he treated his ex-wife because that's what he said in the
Yeah.
last like episode or two. He was like, I just got off the phone with my friend and I learned a lot about how I treated my ex. That is weighing heavy on me. But we don't know what that was. Like, I want to know, like, what happened there that made you realize you weren't ready for another person?
Yeah, that is so interesting that we never got
Yeah.
any of that.
Because he
What are
made
your
it sound like he realized he was wrong. Like he realized he hurt somebody. He was like, I didn't realize how much I hurt her. But it's like, why did it take you to this point? Like, why now?
Yeah, why now, right? Like, it's been a while since you've been divorced.
Hmm.
Why just now? It is a
Yeah,
very strange thing to bring up randomly.
yeah. And then he
Yeah,
turns around, and he hurts Marissa.
exactly.
It's like,
I don't know. It was really weird. What do you think
yeah,
about Marissa's mom, where she's like, "Well, I went and I talked to him,
yeah.
and I tried to get him to change his mind, but in the grand scheme of things, I wanted to punch him in the throat, but he did the right thing because it would have been a relationship where like Marissa would be carrying the relationship the entire time." And I don't think she's wrong. I don't know. What do you think?
I love Marissa's mom. Marissa's
Yeah,
mom is like freaking badass. Like
she
she
is.
needs her own show. Like she was
She needs her own show.
such a
Yeah.
badass the whole time. I was
The
scared of her, but I also loved her at the same time. And like anytime in the reunion she made any comment, like that's where my eyes were. It's like, what did she say?
yeah,
And
yeah.
she was making comments the whole time.
She made comments about Hannah too, because when how
Yeah.
Hannah treated Katie, and like she was like, "Hey, I
Hmm.
thought we were best friends," and she was like, "Oh yeah, no, I love you," and this and that, and like blah blah. And then Marissa's mom turns to her and goes like, "Well, she made you suffer for like a year," and I was like, "Oh what?"
Yeah, she was just like, I'm just gonna say it how it is. And she's not wrong. I was like, I'm glad someone's like actually saying it kind of
I
thing.
I think that she should host the show from now on and get rid of
Yeah.
Nick and Vanessa.
She was so good. She just says it as it is. She doesn't like bullshit. She just calls it out. And I
Yeah,
think she did the same thing with Ramses.
yeah,
And
yeah,
um yeah, I mean, I don't think she's wrong. Like I think Marissa would have had to carry that relationship.
yeah. I think so too. What are your thoughts about Brittany and Leo? They showed them in
Who
this
are those?
thing, and they got their own trip.
Oh, I was like, who's that? Um, I think they added a comedic relief that we needed in
I
this
think so
season.
too.
And,
I think
and
so
I'm
too.
glad that they brought them back to show us like what happened and that it's really cute to see like their friendship that
Yeah,
developed out of
yeah,
that because they could have left very bitter, but they didn't. They're friends. They poked fun at themselves, really good sports.
yeah, yeah. What do you think about like? I thought the whole Mexico thing was like them not uh liking each other that much, but they're trying to say that, hey, we didn't get picked for Mexico. It wasn't the fact that we didn't want to go. We didn't get picked, so we came up with our own trip because we were the weakest couple. Do you think there's truth to that?
So they repeated word for word what Chris, who the producer of Love Is Blind, like the exact statement that Chris put out is
Mhm.
exact words that they repeated, like word for word. And so I was like, okay, you've been told to say this because it's
Yeah,
okay. and they did not change the script at all.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, I don't know, but I think they probably were told, like, hey, do you guys want to go to Mexico? This would be fun to watch. But I feel like they probably realized, like, this, we can't do that right away.
No.
But also sometimes, you know, they do decide not to send every couple. Like during my season, they also told 2 couples who I really thought were going to be chosen to be sent to Mexico. They weren't sent. And those 2 couples decided to do their own little honeymoon trip.
Yeah. Did they end up together or no?
Those 2 engaged couples, they ended up breaking up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. They went on their trip. Like,
yeah. Okay. I did. What do you think about Leo talking about how he had to decide between Hannah and Brittany, and how he owned up to being like delusional about our breakups, and also just like owning up to the fact that like what he did in the position he put her in was wrong? 'Cause I thought that was fairly a pretty good apology.
Absolutely. I did too. Again, this season was different because one, they showed contestants who didn't get engaged, like they brought them to the reunion. They've never done that. They had given contestants who didn't even get engaged, like Katie, more airtime. Like they haven't done seasons, instead of focusing on the people that we got to see. I just was like, again, you could be grilling Tyler or Ramses at this point. Like we could be hearing from them.
I know. We didn't get to hear from any of that stuff. And all we got to hear was like Leo comparing them to steak and pasta.
Yeah. And we love being self-aware and apologizing and being like, okay, work on. But that's great. Like let's hear from what Tyler wants to work on, and Ramses and everybody else.
I never thought when watching the first like 2 episodes where everyone's in a pod that I would be rooting for Leo and Nick. I never thought in a million years that that's where I would be.
Because I did not like them when I watched the show. I was like,
no.
I don't want to watch you anymore.
I know. I did not like Nick, and I did not like Leo. And now I'm like, well, a lot of worse characters in here.
Yeah. I really wonder, like, I just wonder who the actual villain is. Like, who is the villain? Like, some seasons, like, you can tell.
Yeah.
But this season, I don't know. Like, I don't know who the actual villain is, who the production has made into villain. Like, were they all just, I don't know.
I don't know. My pick would go to Hannah, but a strong argument could be made for the next 2 couples we're going to talk about, Alex and Tim, because that was not fun. That was a very like heated argument, and they had not talked to each other for a year. So this is the first time they're talking about it. They haven't hashed anything out already. They don't know what they're going to say. It was raw. That was a very uncomfortable fight to see.
But that's something we would want to see more of. For the host, I think it was Vanessa, who was like, you guys should hash this out like on your own. I was like, wait.
Yeah, I was like, what? No, that's not what we're here for.
Why did you bring it up and have them have real conversations just to then end it and be like, never mind, talk about this on your own?
Right?
Why? Like they're talking about it now. Just let them talk about it.
Like, let them talk about it. Let them air it out. Like Tim was going to explode. He was going to say something he was going to regret, and I was ready for it.
And he probably did. We probably just like didn't see it again. So I'm like, why are we moving the actual conversations that we want to see?
Yeah.
Some fluff pieces that we could care less about.
I don't care about the first Love Is Blind baby. I don't. If there was a list of babies, I don't care about, that baby would not be on that list. I don't care.
But also, like I really, with Alex and Tim, I don't know like who's in the right and who's in the wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's why that argument is so fascinating, because like I don't know either. Like I think her calling him a little ass bitch is like valid, but also she was like, hey, he was so heated that like production had to step in, and she's like, listen, I was protecting you at halftime to make you look good. And then the whole thing happened where like he wrote a letter to his to her dad, and then the next day or a couple of hours later even, he was like, I have doubt, and which offset her mood for when his parents came. And we're like, oh wow, she took a nap, and how disrespectful. But now we learned that like she also had to go to work in like a couple of hours, and you're like, when you add more context, it's like it gets very muddy.
Tim's math is not mathing for me. I'm like, this is not adding up. I don't know why you're so angry. Like, what? His level of anger is not adding up to what we know.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. She took a nap, or she had to go to work.
Yeah, like she took a nap, and she called him a little ass bitch, and he's just fuming over it.
Yeah. Or like he was messaging, he was like, oh, well, you didn't text me until the morning.
Yeah.
It's like, and then he released the text messages and you read them, and I'm not understanding why he's so mad, because I'm reading the messages and nothing looks wrong. Like, she's responding nicely. Sure, his last text is like at 10 p.m. She responds at 9 a.m. Like, you guys are living together. Like, what's the problem here?
Yeah, go up to the room and just and talk. It was weird.
It was the night she was out and working, and then she responded at 9 a.m. Like, why are you so upset? Also, it's a new relationship, so like, part of figuring out communication is that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
For him to become so angry, I don't understand. I think he has a level of expectation that he needs to also fix and come back to like reality with.
Yeah, because he was fuming to the point where I saw steam coming out of his head and his nostrils were flaring, and I was just like, it has to be something more. You can't be that mad at something like this.
Yeah. We also don't know what happened in Mexico.
We don't know what the fight was about. Yeah.
But again, that was like their first fight, and he kept being like, I've never gotten into a fight with my partners before. Like, I've never gotten to this point. So it's like, okay, is it because you've never experienced this that when you have to, you don't know what to do?
Well, his thing was she put his hands on him, and they were like, there was no physical violence, but she put her hand on his mouth, and that got him really upset. And her perspective was, hey, I didn't want production to hear us because I didn't want them to use this against you. And I kind of feel like that's valid, and I do believe her.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really muddy. This is probably the most complicated of all the relationships, where there's really no clear understanding of what happened and why they hate each other so much.
Yeah, and I think his parents actually said something about how he doesn't talk about his feelings, and they hinted that he's a little bit difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
And also was like, yeah, you're right. Like, she agreed with his parents. So I think the problem is, I don't think he's had enough experiences with different types of relationships to understand how to navigate whatever he was feeling.
Yeah. No, I agree. That was probably the most uncomfortable one, but that was also the one I was like, I didn't think I would be that invested in that argument as I was. I was like, oh my God, they really don't.
Reunion, like, she was going off on him. I feel like everything she hadn't said, she was letting out.
Yeah.
And he was just sitting there taking it.
Just fuming on there. Oh man, I don't know, but yeah, I definitely be interested in finding out more about them. Steven, completely off the hook. I think they spent maybe 5 minutes on him. That's insane.
I wanted to hear more from Monica. I feel like she's such a strong, like, beautiful Black woman. Like, we needed to hear more from her.
Yeah. I love the scene where she made him Cash App as Venmo him. I thought that was the highlight.
That was epic. I'm like, nobody's ever done that. Now women all over the world are like, we need to do this.
Yeah. I like that. Oh my God, that's so true. I don't know. I think she was just over it, and she was like, God, but like,
I forgot she was on this season.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it feels like they did talk, but like, Steven is probably, in my opinion, the most like dangerous person on the show, because he just like, he knows how to play it, and he just like turns it off. Like, he turns off it. Like, it almost feels like he's faking empathy, and then when he knows that it's not working, he just turns it off. Because like, when they were arguing about the text messages, he goes like, all right, I admit it, I was wrong, there's nothing what I can do. I'm just gonna leave.
Like, is it done? Like, it felt like he was pretending.
Yeah.
The whole time.
And now I'm done pretending. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, because like, I think if he really was invested, he would have gotten her flowers. He would have tried harder. Like, he was just there going along for the ride. And
yeah, but he knows the right words to say. Like, he knows, like he has the script, but it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel authentic.
No, not at all. And you just see him get up and like leave.
Yeah. And even in the show, he goes like, I'm not going to talk about this anymore. Like, you guys aren't going to believe me, which is such a bizarre thing. He's like, hey, you're not going to fall for my bullshit, so I'm not going to bullshit. And I'm not going to say anything at all. And I'm just like, that's not how it works. You either have to like explain yourself, or you accept that you did the wrong. You can't say, I'm not going to explain myself because no one's going to believe me, therefore I'm not going to do it.
It just, we wanted him to sound a little bit apologetic, a little bit, and he was not at all. It didn't sound like he cared what anyone thought or anyone felt. And if anything, he owed Monica the apology, and he didn't give her anything.
Yeah. No.
That was him really apologize and use that moment to apologize. Be like, I'm so sorry. You didn't deserve this.
Yeah, and I think, like, he did write the letter to Monica's parents and her dad, but, like, I think if that came out gradually in the conversation, it would have looked better than having it be the first thing he says,
Yeah.
right? If it and you're talking about Nick being calculated, like, that's calculated. Like, no one's more calculated in this show than Steven.
Yeah, I agree. And like even just the way he came about everything, and like you are thinking about every single step as you take.
Yeah, even when he went to, like, "Oh, let me go make sure that the temperature is good for you. So I'm gonna walk over there while the cameras are rolling and make sure the temperature is good, and then come back here and let you know that it's 24 degrees Celsius." Motherfucker, I don't know what the fuck 24 degrees Celsius is. You're from America. You know that shit is. You don't know what the hell that means.
He is definitely way more intelligent than he came off initially.
Yeah.
But
He
poor Monica,
definitely.
like I really feel like Monica got swindled, and she deserved more.
Yeah, the love is blind swindler. Like,
I want to hear more from her though, for sure. Like I feel like we never got to hear.
yeah. Well, she's in on social media and TikTok doing TikToks with Nick now,
Yeah,
and the audience is going like, "Oh, you're trying to, get away from the backlash." And she's like, "No, I always loved Nick. I've always told him that. You just didn't see it on the show." Which I'm like, "All right, maybe, possibly fair, but you did go at him pretty hard."
I just think it's interesting how like before they all saw each other, he was so popular with women.
Yeah.
I was like, how? Like, okay, like that
Yeah.
sounds great, but
They call him like Rico Suave, and he's so smooth, and I'm just like, what has he said that's been so smooth? I don't understand.
because you don't see any of that.
Yeah.
Apartment episodes and all that, but you don't get to see it. So I think maybe because of their friendships they developed during the pods, that
Yeah.
they'll have the same friendships with him. But we don't get to see it. But I feel like both of them we're gonna see in future shows.
Really?
Like we'll probably, I feel like they're gonna invite them to like the perfect match, and
You think they might invite Hannah? I feel like she would make a good villain.
I could see them inviting Hannah, and she's beautiful and like knows what she wants and says what's on her mind. So I feel like she'd make for good continued TV.
She might make for good TV. Yeah. So she might be good. I don't know if they would use her and Nick. It would be one or the other, but it'd be really interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Ramses gets invited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I feel like he's very smooth, and I don't think he like backs up some of the stuff he says. Like he comes off like very like progressive, and he says the right things to women and makes them feel comfortable. And then when he's done with them,
Yeah.
just flips the switch. This is kind of problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like he had a lot of learning to do.
Yeah. No, that's true. I did respect his conversation about U.S. imperialism in Palestine, and I'm surprised that made it onto the show. I was very surprised.
My jaw dropped. My jaw literally dropped. I'm like, did he? And I rewound and rewatched that like 10 seconds so many times. Did he really just say Palestine? And fine, he said it. Did they actually play it? Because again, they cut it out completely.
Yeah.
He actually said it. And this is right. I think they filmed this right after October 7th had happened.
The goddamn thing has been going on for a year, so yeah, it makes sense.
So the fact that he said it, and again the show owner, I think the show producers, but they showed it and they talked about it, and they haven't shown much conversation about religion or people's political beliefs at all. And I think some people didn't like it, but a lot of us did appreciate the fact that it was shown.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like the Palestine; it was also just like going in on U.S. imperialism and the military and how U.S.'s basic like unfiltered support for the military, and it's never questioned, was brought up. And I was like, and I really like, as someone who was in the military, Marissa, I thought she had some like really good reflections. And if you go to like her whatchamacallit, like Instagram page, she had like stuff about Palestine on it and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see the growth that she had from like being, as she said, brainwashed in the army and the military to who she is as a person now.
And it was really awesome to see her and her friends who are also like, these are strong women who are in the military. We got to see them. It's like we don't get access to people who have served the country that often, and get to see them as normal human beings. They were all like incredible looking women. They all had each other's backs. That was really nice to see. their conversation, that whole relationship, I think was refreshing for us to see because we haven't seen something like that yet.
Which is really ironic because I've been told, I don't know if you've seen it, but because you have watched Love is Blind Habibi, I was told that there was actually some erasure of like a Palestinian contestant. Like they don't talk about his background a lot. And like even when he mentions Palestine, if you go to the caption, it actually removes the word Palestine from it, which I thought was really interesting. So like the fact that like Love is Blind DC gets away with it, but Love is Blind Habibi does not is very interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm very confused about all of that. I did watch Habibi, and they do mention other people's backgrounds, but they don't. So I'm again different people. It's different production and different editors, but it is and show it in one season, and now what's happening here, we don't get to learn too much about it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really fascinating. It's really interesting how these shows get produced and how much they can and cannot put on air. So I'm really surprised. So we'll see.
Yeah. But I liked all of Marissa and Ramses's like relationship. I think all of their scenes that we saw, there was just a lot of good content in that.
I agree. It was really fascinating to watch, not just from like, you like the couple and you're rooting for them, but just the way they were navigating very difficult conversations.
Absolutely. Like even the one with religion and a religious marriage or having it at a church, like all of, because I feel like that is something a lot of people connect with and probably have experienced themselves. So it's good to see them actually talk about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
I don't know. We talked about all the couples.
Yeah.
We talked about the mom, Marissa's mom. Yeah, I don't know. That was pretty much it. I honestly forgot about a lot of the couples, even though I just watched this reunion like a day ago.
Yeah. No, I feel like, it definitely left me wanting more. I feel like nobody came out looking good. Maybe Garrett and Tyler came out looking good. I did like the joke that like, oh, would you call this like Tyler's or Taylor's version? But then like they overdid it with like 5 of the jokes. And I was like, come on, Nick, you killed it. You ruined it.
It's just trying to, still fit in.
I don't think Nick and Vanessa do a good job hosting. I'm sorry. Like they've been doing it for such a long time, but like they bring nothing to this.
I agree. It would be nice to see some new hosts. And I think we said this before too. Like it just would be nice to see refreshing new hosts who dynamic and challenge the contestants a little bit.
Yeah. And I get that. Like they want to protect their cast, but like at one point you gotta ask the question. It's like you put this out there. And if you want a complete show that satisfies the audience, then you have to give them answers to a lot of the stuff that's like, incomplete.
And that is one thing I will say with the Love is Blind production team. It's like they don't care. The amount of times every union people have the same exact comments. They still don't change anything, and they still are like, nope, this is how we're gonna do things. Like
they're like, we don't care. People are still watching, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Though I do feel like Love is Blind, at this point, is a bigger show than The Bachelor and The Bachelorette in terms of how being on it will give you fame and followings and stuff like that. Like a lot of these people are making like 100K followers, 200K followers. Love is Blind, people who got to the very end can't break. The Bachelor, people who get to like the final 8, final 4 sometimes do not break like 50K. That's like, it's different. So this show is really like surpassing it.
This show is viewed internationally, right?
Yeah. That's true.
It's accessible to everybody all over the world. So you're putting it in front of millions and millions of viewers. All kind of at once. I feel like The Bachelor, it's on a local network. You have to wait every week for the next episode. A lot of energy to put into it. So a lot more contestants. So this recipe, whatever it is, it's working for them.
I agree. It is working. So this is probably why they don't feel the need to change anything. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Even though all the people suffer and they've been sued like 100 times.
But I also think the one thing I really appreciate about Love is Blind is that the contestants really just seem like regular people.
Yeah, like body type and like everything. They're not just like the same fitness models over and over again.
Great. They all look like models stepping out of the limos.
Yeah.
Love is Blind, everyone just looks like normal people.
Absolutely.
they're all good looking in their own ways, but they just seem like regular folks. And I think that's what we appreciate about it most. And it's been working for them to keep it that way.
I agree. Because like a lot of these people who are these pretty perfect molds of like what you expect like models to be like, they're out there protecting their brand, and they're out there protecting like, you know, who's gonna hire them. And some of these people who they're just getting real people, we're getting real authentic stories from them.
Yeah, and we get to see like real people, what happens when you put them in this experiment and how that turns out, which is the whole point of the show. So I think they should definitely do that.
Yeah. All right. That's awesome. Well, listen, Julie, thank you so much for being on the show. We love having you on the show. You've been on the show like 4 or 5 times now. We're big fans of you. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's JUHIE, the letter F. And you can keep up with all my crazy life stories there.
Awesome. Guys, go follow her. She is awesome. Love having you on the show. And maybe when I finish Love is Blind Habibi, we'll have you back and we'll discuss that too.
Me too. All right, thanks for having me.
No problem. I will talk to you guys later. And until next time, guys, Salaam, nerds.